Hey guys, so I thought about whether or not I wanted to make this video, but especially since we're still in the first 15 days of the month of Av. We just had Tisha B'Av, but I made the executive decision, given that we're almost at Shabbat Nachamu, and this concerns the land of Israel, and actually, it may even be appropriate to make this video, and I'll tell you guys why. I just want to start off by saying that I am not a Zionist. I'm not going to say what I'm about to say for quote-unquote Zionistic or political Zionistic reasons. I'm saying it as a Jew who loves the land of Israel, whose soul yearns to be in the land of Israel. That's basically it. I have a feeling that what the rabbis of the diaspora are doing today is something akin to the event that actually precipitated, that is the source of actually Tisha B'Av. They know what I'm talking about. You rabbis who are watching this, and you Orthodox Jews by extension who are watching this, who live in the diaspora, know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the sin of the spies. 12 spies went to scout out the land. 10 of them looked at the land and came back and they said Lashon Hara about the land. And Hashem basically said, and I'm distilling this down to a simple, you're going to cry, and everybody cried. People cried, and he said, "Oh, you're going to cry? I'm going to give you a cry. Here's something to cry about." Folks, that might seem harsh, but you have to think about this. Again, He took them out of Mitzrayim. Hashem took them out of Mitzrayim with all these miracles and all these wonders. Right? They walked around for 40 years to the point where they had to get rid of that one generation. That generation had to die out, so that the new generation could be like, okay, we're going to go into the land with new eyes and a new hope and a new mentality. And lo and behold, we get to the land, and what? And back to the same one. So, my friends, it wasn't harsh. What was the to cry about part? Well, Jewish history. The rest of Jewish history. So, my friends, you come and you talk to a lot of people in the diaspora, Orthodox Jewish people, who read the Torah, who know that pretty much, granted, the Torah was given outside the land of Israel because Hashem knew that we would be exiled, etc., etc. But they know, these rabbis know as well as I do, that a good portion of the Torah is outside of the land. You don't know what's flying. You're just reading about things, you're learning about things, but you're not actually doing them because you're not in the land, right? Sure, we don't have hundreds of mitzvot because we don't have a temple, but there are mitzvot today that are being kept, that we do have. Why? Because we have a land. Why? Because we have mostly to do with agriculture and society, which we are able to keep if we want to. There's individuals that are keeping these mitzvot today. Unfortunately, the governments are not keeping mitzvot, or sometimes they kind of do by accident, by happenstance. The Israeli government, right? They're against it, whatever it is, right? But the Torah is coming alive. We know that. We see that. And these rabbis know that. But if you come to them and you say, what about people moving to Israel? It's a mitzvah to live in Israel. It's one of the biggest mitzvot according to the Rambam. Folks, I personally never came to this whole thing of living in Israel through the fact that either Zionism or the fact of, because it's a mitzvah. To me, it's just, I yearn to be in the land of Israel. I want to be there, sometimes at all costs. Not sometimes, usually most of the time, if not always. And that's it. So when you come to these rabbis and you say, isn't that like a thing? they say to you, oh, I didn't realize you were so Zionistic, or I'm not so Zionistic, or yeah, we know it's a mitzvah, but, and here are the reasons why either we can't, or my community can't, or here's the reasons why we shouldn't at this time. My friends, this is appalling. And I'm speaking to you now as a person who didn't grow up religious, as a person who, I did come to Israel as when I was young with my parents, when I was 13 years old. When I got there, I did feel the spirituality of the land, but it was more so kind of a glorified vacation, going to a country full of people like myself, right? Just a bunch of Jews. Okay, I saw some sights, I saw here, I saw there. But I didn't really understand or feel or intuit what I was looking at and what I was feeling. I didn't have the words to describe it. And then, folks, I went there for the first time when I was 26 years old, as an adult, more or less. Not religious. And when I traveled the country on that whirlwind 10-day tour they call Birthright, no one put any ideology into my head. No one gave me any lectures. I just was sitting on a bus, feeling the land and understanding, whoa, there's something here. Again, a year later, I went on a trip, with friends, to a friend's wedding, and just, extended trip for 2 weeks. Travel the land. Once again, mostly secular. Mostly, folks, it was like, there was nothing, very little religious about the trip, I can assure you. I'm not going to get into details, but, so, traveling the land, but, I go to a wedding, I go to another event called a Kina, and I see Jews from all over the world, whether they live there or they came there, couples, like a South African guy married to a Yemenite woman, and I'm just one example of many, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I heard about this thing called the ingathering of the exiles. Again, I wasn't a religious guy, but I looked at this and I said to myself, my goodness gracious, it's happening. The Torah is happening. The prophecies are happening. I knew about these prophecies. I knew something vague. I didn't study it. And then you fast forward another year. Now this is 2009. Now there's Torah. Now everything's coming together. I decide I'm going to move to Israel. I go on a trip, and then, and then a year later, 2010, I decided I'm going to move to Israel because I want to live a Torah life. I don't see myself doing it outside the land. I don't see there's a point. Again, I didn't read anything, any ideology, any particular ideology. It just came from within. I looked around and I said, I don't see a point to live a Torah life outside of the land where it's basically fundamental. The book and the land go together. Again, no one told me that. I understood that intrinsically, intuitively. And it's funny because years later I had read Rav Kook, and I said, wow, here's a guy that wrote something that I already felt intuitively. He wrote about it 100 years ago, but I had felt it intuitively for years. I actually told a friend of mine who was a teacher of Rav Kook, he said, well, you have a healthy neshama. So I'm like thinking, okay, I have a healthy neshama, so what, the rest of the frum people don't have healthy neshamas? He goes, I'm not saying nothing. But my friends, I'm also not saying nothing. I'm not saying you don't have a healthy neshama, but what I do think is, those of you Orthodox Jews, frum Jews who are living in the diaspora, I do think is happening is that your neshamas are blocked by, there's klipot. There's things that are blocking you from having the same intuition or having the same feelings that I have, that any Jew, normal Jew should have, who's connected to Torah. Really, you should. Kashmiut, things in your life, money, career, this, that, you know what I'm talking about. I don't think I'll go into a whole list. And so, on the one hand, I can't blame you. However, knowing what you know, about the Torah and the land of Israel, and how there's so many things that you just can't do, and knowing consciously that you're lacking all of these mitzvot, you're lacking them. You don't have an opportunity to do them. Again, you could say, well, we don't have the temple, of course, so no one has facts, but there's a bunch that are available that you're not participating in. You're willingly not participating in. On top of that, you see the developments that are happening in Eretz Israel. You see the developments that are happening around the world. You see what's happening now, especially after October 7th. You see all the signs written on the wall, and you're still clinging. You're still like scratching and clawing. You're still building gullus. You're building things in the gullus. You're building the diaspora. You're building it up. And I don't understand why. Folks, when I lived in Israel for the 3 years, the first time around, and I became basically a Torah Jew in Israel, and I came back to America, and I looked around at all the frum Jews, and I thought to myself, folks, I don't understand how it's possible to connect to anything here. All these sages and all these rabbis and all the years who lived in the diaspora said, we are in a deep galut. And now you can say, well, it's galut in Eretz Israel too. Folks, the galut of Eretz, in that galut part in Eretz Israel is obviously the government. And I'm with you on that. Believe me, I'm with you on that. But as far as the land is concerned, nothing can tarnish it. The Kedusha of the land, absolutely nothing can tarnish it, nothing can taint it, nothing can take it away. Absolutely nothing. And you know as well as I do, that there are people who live there in Eretz Israel for centuries, families who live there, who don't even, some of them don't even have citizenship, but they live there for years. They leave and they come back for technical reasons. And then there's people who have citizenship who are not fans of the government, who sometimes don't do what the government wants. You're looking at them, right? Shmovid. So, guys, it's all about the land. And if you are telling people, you're talking to people because of your own political biases, which I get, against the government, against this and against that, and also on top of that, your own, missions and goals that you think are missions and goals here in the diaspora. You guys are either lying to yourselves, or you're lying to both yourselves and your followers and your congregants. With that said, guys, you guys are probably thinking, well, Tzvi, you're talking to us, and you're sitting here in Jersey. What are you doing? Well, folks, I made Aliyah. I lived in Israel. I didn't come back because I made Yeridah. I didn't leave. I lived there on 2 occasions. Once, 12 years ago, or now 10 years ago, and once during COVID. I'm back here, folks, I am back here for the time being to evacuate my family from what's about to happen. A lot of my friends who are going to vote for, who think that this election can fix something and they're going to vote for, just like I will, because I will, Mr. Orange, right? You think it's going to, snap everything back to the way it's supposed to be. My friends, I have news for you. First of all, it's just delaying the inevitable. And I speak from Jewish history perspective, and I speak from what's called an eye on Mashiach perspective, from a Geula perspective, because I understand that this is just the last stage before the Geula, and we're very, very close. Secondly, even if the person gets in, there's a lot of people that are not fans of that, are not excited about that, and there's going to be some trouble, if you know what I mean. And my friends, when things go south, who do you think gets blamed? Not only blamed, but what do you think is gonna happen with our cousins? Again, back to the Torah. We know, our sages told us, my friends, I'm talking to you rabbis and you frum people. Our sages told us that the last galut is going to be called the galut of Ishmael, when Ishmael is going to captivate and basically try to conquer the entire world. It was a weird thing to say at that time, because Ishmael was nobody. They were practically nobody. At least not to, not to the West. So, here we are. And my friends, if you think it's going to be peachy keen for you in the diaspora, no matter what country you live in, America, Canada, especially Canada, Europe is gone. Australia, gone. New Zealand, pretty much the same. My friends, if you think it's going to be peachy keen, and the guy that you vote for, let's say, even if he gets in, you think it's going to alleviate something, my friends, it's either going to, the choices are, it's either going to happen, the Geula is going to happen very quickly and with a lot of pain, or slightly, less quick and with slightly less pain. So those are your two choices. The question is, though, do you want to be here when that happens, or do you want to be home in Eretz Israel? The land of the Torah. The land of Hashem and the land of the Torah. Again, I'm speaking to you Orthodox Jews and the rabbis. Folks, this is not a political Zionistic statement. This is a spiritual Torah intuitive statement that I make to you with all due respect. And so you have to take a look in the mirror as a rabbinic leader, as a leader of a Jewish community, if you're listening to this, or just a frum Jew connected to Torah, and say to yourself, there's all these developments that are now in the world, in the land of Israel. There's all this access we have to mitzvahs that we didn't have before. Do I want to just stay with my nice SUV and my giant house? And even the gas has gone up in America. It's still hetzi, half of what it is, or maybe like a third of what it is in Israel at this point. Yes, I will tell you that. The cars cost half, everything costs half, the salaries are double, yes. But my friends, in the words of Pablo Escobar, plata o plomo, silver or lead, your money or your life. Folks, see, you can accuse me, by the way, and I'll say one last thing, you can accuse me of alarmism, you can accuse me of this and that, but the reality on the ground paints the picture that I'm describing. The reality on the ground confirms. With that said, guys, I always say, and I say this to my friends in the the Aliyah camp, or the people who are trying to get people to make Aliyah. Stop yelling to people or talking to people about, the sky is falling. Even though I did just tell you that the sky is falling. That's not the primary thing. The primary thing is the Torah. The primary thing is what we have the ability and the opportunity to do today as a nation and as individuals. Alright, guys. I guess Chag Sameach, Tu B'Av's coming up, happiest day on the Hebrew calendar, besides Yom Kippur, and good Shabbos.